So it is absolutely a pleasure again to be able to be here for this evening session. We're going to move it quickly. We are thrilled that you all are here, and we're very, very excited. We have the Transportation Learning Center that is coming. This is their second time. This is a brand new segment for us, which is on the whole freight, logistics, port, warehousing, material. You're going to love it. And it's very relevant to you in the Inland Empire because this is one of the major international hubs for all of the logistics and freight and ports and everything moving throughout the world. Okay. And so with that, I'm delighted. I see Jack Clark is here, who is the head of the center, and the individual that's going to be doing the leading off on our presenting this evening is going to be Jinga Wang as well, who is the deputy director for the center. So anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Jack or to Jinga.
Yes, thank you, Pat. Thank you, Bev. And I am going to try sharing my PowerPoint first. So do you all see my slide? The first slide?
We also see the notes in the next slide, Shinga.
Oh, you do? Okay, so let's try it one more time. In the other one, it was working.
Yeah. While Shinga's adjusting, I just wanted to make sure our presenters knew that there are a number of people in the class where you see Sal and, a few people online. And just to say that Shinga is the associate director of the International Transportation Learning Center and is really one of the experts, national experts in the transportation field. So she's taken a lot of information and put it into a short presentation to give people context here.
Right. And I want all of the young women in the room to know that it's exactly, she's been at this, she looks very young, but she's been at this for about 20 years. And she's actually really internationally recognized. She probably knows more about transportation, workforce, and readiness than most people even would ever think they know. So we turn it to you, Shinga.
Thank you again, Bev, for that glowing review. So, Caritza, do you see the slide?
Yep, everything's good.
Okay, terrific. So, again, we appreciate everyone's time this afternoon, and we're very excited to be introducing careers in transportation, warehousing, and logistics, and some of the related work in maintenance. And I will be the first presenter talking mostly about an overview of the industry and the careers at the national and regional level. And then we're going to have some presenters from Port of LA, from the trucking and warehousing industry in the region, and also from the automotive and diesel technician apprenticeship program. These are really representing the union apprenticeship and training programs. So I'm going to jump into my presentation. So again, to give you a flow of my presentation, I'm going to start with providing some high-level definitions of our warehousing, logistics, and trucking industry. And then I will talk about the career outlooks at the national and then the regional level. I will wrap up my presentation with a closer look at how COVID has impacted jobs in the sector. So to begin with, I would like to show a video, and I'm gonna share this. This is a video developed by the Department of Labor showing the industry of transportation, distribution, and logistics, and the career clusters within that industry.
The transportation, distribution, and logistics industry is all about moving people and things from one location to another quickly, safely, and at a low cost. Transportation methods include aircraft, railroads, waterways, over the road, and through pipelines, as well as warehousing and storage. Workers in this industry design transportation systems, operate or repair equipment, plan how to move materials, and take care of storing products. Quick facts to know: this industry employs over 5 million workers, about 3.6% of total U.S. jobs. Trucks deliver nearly 70% of all freight in the U.S. The most commonly shipped items are food, clothing, furniture, and electronics. The U.S. spends more than $1.64 trillion on transportation logistics. Despite the idea that driverless trucks may move freight down highways within the next 10 to 15 years, there are many current job openings in transportation and warehousing, with a strong need for workers expected in the next several years. Experts estimate that there are 50,000 truck driver jobs unfilled, and trucking-related jobs account for about 1/3 of the job openings in the industry. Many openings are also currently available and expected in the future for school and public transit bus drivers, forklift operators and stock movers, and distribution warehousing workers. A wave of retirements in railroad and maritime workers will create further openings. Most careers in transportation and logistics pay wages that are higher than the national median. For those seeking employment, pay special attention to these metropolitan areas where growth will be especially robust: New York City, Dallas, Los Angeles, Houston, and Chicago.
Could everyone mute, please, if you're not talking?
Such as barcodes that track goods for shipping and distribution. Pilots of ships and aircraft depend on automated navigation equipment to operate safely. GPS technology is heavily relied on in many jobs, although workers need to troubleshoot changing conditions and make adjustments often more quickly than technology is able to.
All right. So I'm going to switch back now to my PowerPoint. Let's see if it's going to work.
Yep, it's looking good.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. Slide only.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you all have seen in the video that the transportation, warehousing, and logistics industry is a super sector with actually now close to 6 million workers that pretty much touches every day of our lives. From the moment you click submit order to when the UPS delivery driver shows up at your door with your brand new Xbox, a whole lot of things have happened along the supply chain, and many people in different occupations have facilitated the storage and movement of the product. So a few weeks ago, I think you have heard about careers in what public transportation industry has to offer, or really the people moving part of the transportation industry. For the sake of our presentation today, we'll be focusing on the goods moving part of the industry. And this includes air and express delivery services, freight rail, maritime transportation, truck transportation, warehousing, storage, and logistics. This graph shows the growth of transportation, warehousing, and logistics job opportunities since 1990. You'll see that there has been some temporary dips around the 3 recessions, the gray areas, most visibly around 2008. But for the most part, the employment in the sector has grown steadily, almost doubling in the past 30 years. Some interesting patterns happened in the last year and a half when COVID happened, and we'll cover that in detail later. Now, many good jobs exist in the sector of transportation, warehousing, and logistics. These jobs are with good pay, good benefits, and job protection. And many only require high school diploma and short-term or long-term on-the-job training. And this chart describes the typical career pathways and opportunities in this industry for every level of education. We don't have time to go into the details here, but you can see the slide in your course materials that you can further examine and ask us follow-up questions. And later in the session, you will hear about the specific pathways from presenters who actually do these jobs and have come through these pathways. Now, let's take a look at the San Bernardino County. The region is the nation's leading logistics, warehouse, and distribution market. And this chart shows the 2018 to 2028 industry sector employment projections for this region. And trade, transportation, and utilities industry that is under discussion here leads all industries by a very large margin, with a 15% increase in employment over the next 10-year period. And this table lists the top 10 occupations with the most job openings from 2018 to 2028 in the region. 3 warehousing and trucking related jobs made it to the list, with laborers, freight and stock material movers adding 123,000 jobs, stock clerks and order fillers adding 50,000, and heavy and tractor trailer truck drivers adding 40,000. And as my fellow speakers will also attest to, there are also a large number of maintenance jobs existing to be filled. And you probably know that San Bernardino County is just over 40 miles from 2 major seaports, and it's at the center of 3 airports, 6 interstate highways, and the busiest rail corridor in the United States. And goods transportation, warehousing, and logistics constitute a pillar industry in this region, contributing significantly to the economic sustainability and job creation. Finally, let's take a look at the impacts of COVID-19 on jobs in this industry. First, take a look at the news headlines at the top and see if you can identify the periods of time they each correspond to on the line graph. Okay, so the first one, in April, 1 month after COVID hit, more than 88,000 jobs disappeared in truck transportation sector. Warehousing and storage shed more than 74,000 jobs. And these are the steepest drops on record. This happened when 20 million jobs were lost across the country and the nation's unemployment rate rose to nearly 15%. And then as we enter the long stretch of economic recovery during the pandemic, our shopping habits reshaped America's labor market. The nation started adding jobs in June 2020, and most came in the sector of transportation and warehousing. And we also this is because we shifted towards buying everything, sneakers, groceries, even cars online. And this is driving a hiring binge in the logistics industries. And fast forward to today, transportation and warehousing employment has surpassed the pre-pandemic level. And this is causing significant shortages in almost every sector of the industry, from longshore workers to long haul and delivery truck drivers and mechanics. So this is a very brief overview of the industry and the careers it has to offer. And at this point, I will pass the mic to my colleague, Kenyon Corbett, Senior Program Associate of ITLC, to introduce the following speakers.
Thank you, Shinga. So we're back to this same slide.
Yes.
Coming up next will be a presentation from the Port of LA, and that is going to be done by Aveen Sharma, Director of Labor Relations and Workforce Development, and he also serves on the State of California Workforce Development Board. Okay, Aveen.
Hi, Kenyon. Thanks so much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to be here, and I'm honored to speak alongside some great presenters, and then also to all of those of you who are in the classroom today. As Kenyon mentioned, I'm the Director of Labor Relations and Workforce Development here at the Port of Los Angeles. If I was in the classroom, I'd ask for a show of hands on who's been to the Port of Los Angeles, but I won't do that since I can't see. But it's the Port of Los Angeles. I've talked to many LA residents who've never been down to the port. But the port is here. The Port of Los Angeles is the busiest container port in the United States, as was mentioned in the prior presentations, and actually the busiest container port in the entire Western Hemisphere. The last couple of years, there have been more than 9 million shipping containers that move through this port each and every year. And cargo that comes through this port goes to all 435 congressional districts around the country. So I share that just to show you that this port here in your own backyard is a port of national and international significance. And so, for this conversation, because the Port of Los Angeles is so big, 1 in 9 jobs in the Southern California region are actually tied to the port complex here. And so, as for myself, I work for the Port of Los Angeles. The Port of Los Angeles, we're the port authority that oversees the business operations over my shoulder. It's not a fake backdrop. That's really the port. Throw something at the window, but I'm afraid it'll break. The Port Authority, we oversee the business operations. And so, it's very similar to if you go to a shopping mall and you see all the stores, and those stores inside the shopping mall, those are like our terminal operators that are out here. And I, as the Port Authority, we're the same, like the company that owns the shopping mall building and operates the building and the parking lot. We have a very similar role here as the Port Authority. And so, I, as being a part of the Port of Los Angeles, we're actually we're an agency of the city of Los Angeles. So I'm actually a municipal employee. A lot of times people think the port's a private company or something like that. No, I'm a municipal civil servant, and I work here at the Port Authority. I have 1,000 colleagues here at the Port of Los Angeles, and so when you have 1,000 when you have an organization with 1,000 employees, you have a big diversity in terms of the different types of occupations and careers that are here. And so for this conversation, I'll sort of stick it in 2 buckets. Maybe I'll stick, the first bucket is the positions you may have thought of when you saw that I was speaking, what the type of jobs you think would come up for a port. And then the other bucket are positions where you may not have thought of. And so, first of all, in sort of that first bucket of positions you probably already thought of in advance, we have engineers here. We have engineers. There's always a lot of infrastructure projects, designing the terminals you see behind me as well. And then there are construction and building trades. Some of my colleagues here that work at the port are electricians, welders, and handle different construction, pipe fitters, and so forth. And we also have a deputized port police that are here to oversee public safety. And then there's colleagues that work here, office next door to me and floors below me, that are administrative in position, HR specialists, accountants, and so forth. And so so now the other bucket of careers you may not have thought of, for example, we've got positions here, like I mentioned, our port police. The port police here at the Port of LA has a dive unit. We have divers that go down in the water to make sure our marine channels are clear and there's not any debris, make sure the ships have safe passage. And unfortunately, there are times where our divers have to do search and rescue operations, and our dive unit's so well regarded here that we're often called to do search and rescue operations for the entire region to help out with other law enforcement agencies. And we also have positions like marine biologists. We're always very concerned about the water here in our waterways. This camera is not that strong, but every now and then I'll see some sea lions or even dolphins kind of through the channel right over my shoulder. And we've worked really hard for the last few decades to clean the water within the channels, and we've seen the proof of that by having marine life come and marine mammals come back in. The last 2 that I'd mentioned there too is cybersecurity. The Port of Los Angeles has the only cybersecurity operations center in the entire country for any port. It's straight out of a movie. You walk in there, it's a few floors below me, giant TV screens all over. You see maps of cyber intrusions as they're happening, and we have staff that sit there and watch the screens all day. Just last month, there were 40 million cyber intrusion attempts at the Port of Los Angeles. So it's something we take very seriously. The last thing I'll say about the different roles here is, in terms of other things we take seriously, we also look at the impact that we have at the port, and we think about the environmental impact as well. And so the Port of Los Angeles is committed to going to zero emission by 2030. All the cargo handling equipment over my shoulder, we're committed to going zero emission by then. And so to do that, it's based on technology that doesn't exist. So I have colleagues here who their jobs are to work with these big manufacturers to try to test out new technologies, new greener technologies. Sometimes it works. We have electric forklifts that operate here. Sometimes it doesn't work. We have some trucks that have died on the bridge because the battery couldn't take it. So we continuously work here to try to create new technologies and have jobs here where you get to work with manufacturers on that. So, I guess the last thing I'll say for my part here is that all of our jobs here, because we're the city of Los Angeles, they're all available on our personnel department website. The city of Los Angeles personnel department tracks all the positions here. So if anyone here is ever interested, you can always go learn about the different occupations, learn about what's required for them, and look at different opportunities in public service. And, I guess I'll sort of say closing on my part that I've made my career in public service. I believe in the importance of serving in public good. My parents immigrated to this country, and growing up, we needed public assistance at different points along the way. And so I believed in the importance of public service because of those experiences growing up. And so, this port is a public good that's there to keep our economy going and create jobs. And so, I'm happy to be here. So that was a lot, but I'll stop right there.
Great. So did we want to go through Mark Jurasic was going to be here from the.
Yeah. Can you, Mark? Yeah, Mark he texted Aveen and me. He apologizes. He got caught in a meeting that he cannot get out of, part of the life of being a union rep. And fortunately, Aveen works very closely with him. And so I think we turn it back over to Aveen, and he puts on his Longshore hat.
Yeah, I will cover for my brother, Mark Jurasic. I am 6'2". If Mark was standing here, you would not see me. He is that much big. He is a large, big longshoreman. So I can't cover him that way. But let me sort of talk about some of the different things he would talk about. So, I talked to you all about the roles here that I work at as Port Authority. Now, the terminals that are over my shoulder here, there's a whole nother category of different roles and occupations. Longshore workers, for one. Longshore workers are the men and women that move the cargo off the containers off the ship. They use the large crane. I don't know if you could see it that well. There's some giant ship-to-shore cranes right over my shoulder here. There are crane operators that operate those cranes and move the containers off and put them on the terminals. And Longshore help move the containers around on the terminals. Just, today there are 200,000 containers here on our terminals right now. And the Longshore there help get those containers in the right place. The other types of positions we have, and these longshore workers and the others I'm going to talk about here, these are private sector employees. They're not my colleagues. They work for the various companies that are here at the port. There are also positions like seafarers. Seafarers are the men and women who work aboard vessels that go through here, tugboats, barges, and other types of vessels. I work closely with the Seafarers International Union. They're a union that represents seafarers, and they have great training programs and a training academy on how an individual who really don't need to have a background in this, but are interested, can join a registered apprenticeship program that the seafarers operate. And after completing an apprenticeship, you can very quickly work on aboard a vessel. And there's different types of careers, from mechanical jobs. The careers that are actually in most in need for the seafarers right now are ship stewards, ship cooks. They can't find enough ship cooks out there. And you can very quickly get training through an registered apprenticeship program and be aboard a vessel in months. And so those are the types of roles. And then the last one I'll touch on are railroads. We have railroads. A third of the cargo that goes out of the port here goes by rail. There are 100 trains that leave the port every day. They're at least a mile long in length. And we are served by the BN, Burlington Northern, and a Union Pacific, as well as a short line rail that here that operates at the port called Pacific Harbor Line. Pacific Harbor Line, they, again, don't need to have any type of background in the industry, but if it's something you're interested in, they actually do offer training programs and training programs on site where you can learn and be certified and go in as a sort of an entry-level train engineer. So, there's definitely a need amongst train and rail type positions as well. So, not as dynamic of an overview as maybe Mark could speak, and Mark could spend the whole time telling you stories aboard ships and vessels. And I apologize, I don't have the fun stories to share about life as a longshoreman, but I just wanted to at least give you a quick overview. There are approximately about 100,000 workers that come in and out of this port complex every day. And so it's a dynamic operation with different types of roles and positions. And so hopefully that gives you a little more insight into the types of roles, both here at the Port Authority and then also out on our port terminals. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today.
So
Thanks.
this is Bev. I'm gonna hit all the protocols. I almost could have cried when I was sitting up here because I am where I am today. My family is all from around the Gulf. And so my grandmother, my uncles, my everything, they were longshoremen, okay, Port of Galveston and all of that. And my family was able to be able to do all the things because that foundation was there. They were tremendous jobs and we were so honored. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aveen, for sharing not just your own story and experience, but also for covering for Mark and sharing some of the frontline workers positions that are available in the port as well. I think we do have some time for questions if there are any. Is that right? Maybe that should go through Omar or Isaiah, or if anyone else has questions.
I have a question. You said that 30% of the cargo goes out via rail. What about the other 70%?
That's a great question. It goes out by truck. So we have about 16,000 truck movements that go through the Port of Los Angeles every day. And so our primary way the cargo moves out of here is over truck. And that's why we've also committed that we are working with industry to make sure that by 2035, the trucks that go in and out of here are zero emission. So we're looking at that very closely. And our goal too is also maybe to get that almost a 50-50, and if not more, so that we can get cargo to move out by rail for all sorts of important and environmental reasons.
And Bev asked the question about women and diversity in the workforce on the port, I guess, both from a frontline perspective and maybe from the back office perspectives that you have as well.
Yeah, sure. Unfortunately, if Mark was here, he could probably speak more to the front line, but at least I know here at the Port Authority, as a city agency, it's something we treat very importantly. We have very strong diversity and inclusion initiatives that we have here. Looking at diversity, we have programs, for example, that work directly with HCBUs, HBCUs, and then we also have different local hiring programs as well to look at to make sure we have diversity, to include more women or more people of color. And lastly, we work with our building trades unions to make sure that there are apprenticeships and the people that are in the apprenticeships are looking towards an eye towards diversity.
That's really great because I know that the women, it's all the people of color and everything, but women, it was always this whole thing. There were never, and so you all have done a lot over the last several decades to change that picture. So thank you.
Okay, well, there is one last question. I think we're at time, but if
we're good.
Okay.
Are there more than one?
There's a question over here.
Oh, we have questions in the classroom. Pat, do we have?
You could turn that.
Yeah, let's take a couple more minutes for questions. We're reasonably on time, but let's take 2-3 more minutes. Yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering, how does one become a cook, or what are the requirements in order to do that at the port?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with the example I mentioned, to be a seafarer, so to be a ship steward, we can always, if you or anyone else is interested, we could always follow up with you and connect you with the Seafarers International Union. It is a registered apprenticeship program. The registered apprenticeship program is completely free. What all you need to do is, I believe you would need to either have to go through the process, I think, to either get a transportation worker card or possibly a passport. I think there's that requirement, and then you would have to and then you would just have to fill out some application and paperwork and work with the local center here for the Seafarers Union. And then their training facility is actually out in Maryland. It's in Piney Point, Maryland, is where they have their training facility to put participants through their apprenticeship program. But I can happy to follow up with Pat or others to get more information to anyone who's interested.
Right. Thank you very much, Avin, because one of the things we try to do is when points come up like this on specific programs is follow right back up the next week if we can with the actual information that the students were looking for. Thank you so much.
Go
Yeah, it says I
ahead.
got another question.
Okay, so you have an apprenticeship program. I want to be an engineer. Do you help facilitate that? Or do I have to come as an engineer to you?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So I think sort of two answers there. One is the Port of Los Angeles has a well-known and well-regarded student worker program where we have student workers who I think it's my understanding that it's for student workers that are registered at a community college, either at a 2-year or 4-year program, and they're paid student worker programs. And many of our student workers go on to work here full time. A couple of our executives at the executive level here at the port started off as student worker decades ago. And so we have student workers that work in our engineering department as well. So that's one avenue. And then to the second part of the question, we do hire engineers then as they finish their engineering programs in colleges and stuff. So again, you could go on to the City of Los Angeles Personnel Department and look under the Harbor Department, and there's probably some engineering postings up there today, and you can get a sense of exactly what are the types of requirements that they're looking at to get into the different types of engineering, whether it's civil engineering or mechanical engineering or other things.
I'd like to just add, following up on what Bev said and what Aveen said, we will send people links to the sorts of programs that Aveen's talking about. And in addition, Aveen provided us with a set of videos of workers in various jobs on the port, at the port, and talking about their work. And so that's going to be a great resource for you too, and we'll provide that to Isaiah and Omar. So.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we move on to the next, or was there anything else in the classroom?
I think it's good.
Okay, so our next presentation will be by the Teamsters. Becky Leppins who is the Youth Development Director for Teamsters Local 1932, will give an overview. And then there will be a guest panel with Kenneth Rodriguez, who is a forklift operator and shop steward with over 28 years of continuous experience at the Kroger Distribution Center in Riverside. And then Marco Suarel, who is a delivery transport driver with 7-Up and 15 years of experience there. So Becky, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you and share with you a little bit about who the Teamsters are and what we do. So the Teamsters are a labor union. We have been around since 1903. We are one of the most diverse unions out there, representing both professional and non-professional, private sector and public sector. The saying goes, from A to Z, airline pilots to zookeepers, we've represented somebody in the industry. But we are known as the champion of freight drivers and warehouse workers. And that dates back to when the Teamsters started, that we represented horse team drivers and stable hands. So we have been in the transportation industry since 1903. We've seen it grow from literally horse and buggy to trucks to what we're doing today. So we have a large knowledge of that with it. So our horses there, our logo, our 2 horses. Our horses are named Lightning and Thunder. And Thunder is the male horse and Lightning is our female horse, because equality has been important to the Teamsters for over 100 years. So we really work hard to diversify, to represent all industries, all people, all workers. Currently, we have over 1.4 million working members throughout Canada and the US. And over 500,000 retirees as well. Next slide. So I think everyone touched on this a little bit, but what is warehouse and distribution? So warehouse and distribution is the storing and moving of goods. So pretty much everything you touch has somehow been a part of either been on a truck or in a warehouse, from the shoes you wear to the laptop you're on to the sodas you drink. Most of the time it's been in a warehouse and your workers have touched it, or it's been transported by truck to get there. It is a vital component of ensuring that goods make it to the consumer. Next slide. In the Inland Empire, as they've said, warehouse industry has boomed. We're near the major highways. It connects the Southwest. It's easily accessible to go north towards Oregon and Washington, or out towards Arizona and other Southwestern states. We're located about 60 miles from Los Angeles, from the port, making it a vital area. In the pandemic alone, they've seen a 12% growth in warehouse industry. And in the past 10 years, it's over doubled. Next slide. So most of you, if you drive through any section of San Bernardino, Riverside, Inland Empire, you see warehouses being built. It's hard to not see it. We are currently now ranked in the top 10 cities in the nation for distribution, and it's making it a vital hub, a national logistics hub. We're in cities like Chicago, New Jersey, and Detroit. San Bernardino is seeing that rapid growth. Next slide. So what does that mean for you in the Inland Empire? So what that means is we're going to have a multitude of jobs throughout the region. A lot of career opportunity directly out of high school. A lot of warehouse jobs and commercial truck driving jobs. And for those that live in the area, this means shorter commutes. A lot of times you had to drive towards LA, down to the ports to have those jobs. So some people are really enjoying the growth in the Inland Empire because you can stay closer to home. It's a huge economic growth for the region. Currently, right now, you can see the California unemployment. They're just in the Inland Empire region, over 10,000 trucking jobs available right now. And that number is only expected to grow. So it's a really good time if this is an industry you're looking to get into. Now is the time to get into it. These are long-term careers. They are good jobs that you can support a family on, that you can retire from. Next slide. As with the good, there are some negative effects that come on this. You're getting more traffic. You do have increased noise and air pollution. There is some decay of the infrastructure. And depending on the company, there can be some bad and poor paying jobs. Next slide. Teamsters take that very seriously, and we have had a major response to this. So Teamsters have been out there working and fighting for collective bargaining agreements for their workers with the union companies they work with. They're fighting for community benefit packages and going up against big corporations that don't want to give their share to the community or provide those protections that are needed for pollution, for infrastructure rebuilding. We take it to a political level and go and work with state political leaders, as well as in DC with national, to create new legislation to protect the workers. Just recently, we played a huge historic role in the legislation that was just signed into law a few weeks ago, California AB 701. So this new law protects warehouse workers from being fired for not meeting company quotas. This is a huge win for labor. Teamsters take this very seriously when we talk about the working man. And men and women. We want to have them be good paying jobs. We want them to, we stand with our workers. We fight back to make sure that these jobs are good industry-wide, not just with the union ones that we represent. Next slide. So the difference between union and non-union jobs, union jobs typically have higher wages. Now, many times wages will start out similar, but the difference is seen in 3 to 5 years, where with union jobs, those raises and increments go up much higher than non-union jobs. Union jobs have benefits, medical, dental, vision, healthcare, which is so needed in today's economy and world. Collective bargaining agreement. And what that is, that's your contract. That means that you have representation when you are working with your employer, that you have somebody to stand by you to help fight with you. We have pensions and retirement. These jobs are great career jobs. They're not stepping stones. You can retire, you can live the American dream through these jobs. There's safer working conditions, job security. It's just a great way to advance your career. With the non-jobs, you typically have lower wages, little to no health benefits, little to no retirement. And a lot of times they have high expectations, and that leads to a high rate of injury over time. Statistically, non-union jobs, workers are staying 1 to 3 years and bouncing around the industries and not staying long-term. So with a union job, the higher job retention is there. Next slide. So some of the companies that we work with and partner with are companies like UPS, Ralph, Stater Brothers, Cisco, Costco. These are big companies that have union representation, not just in the warehouse, but in the driving, the mechanical sides of it as well. So there's a lot of different representation through these areas. And these are just a few that we represent specifically in the warehouse and distribution. So if you wanted to look into starting the warehouse and distribution job, that is something that you can do. Next slide. Teamsters 1932 is set to start and launch a training center. We've seen the demand just constantly increase in the area, and we are launching our training program for our warehouse training program. This was set to launch this December. It's a 6-week training program, high quality training that really goes after the needs that we see our members and what they need. It's a comprehensive training that you will get before going into a job. You'll be prepared to enter the workforce with the proper skills necessary in order to do this. We have job apprenticeships lined up and also job placement assistance with companies that we know and other companies in the area. We also are allowing growth opportunities. We want to be able to continue to add classes to this so you can continue. If you start in the warehouse and you want to then get your commercial driver's license, we can work with you on that to become a Class A driver to expand your field and opportunity on that. So I appreciate your guys' time and everything that to be here, and hope that this has given you a little bit of information on what the Teamsters are in the warehouse and distribution.
Okay, but do we want to go over
I think Kenyon, let's move to the panel, because that way Becky sort of set the table, and Ken and Marcos can, give some specifics, and then we'll have time for questions, right?
Mm-hmm. So you want to start with I see Marcos on my screen, so why don't we start with him? Go ahead, Marcos.
And I'm sorry if I may have muted you. I was trying to get rid of some background noise. You are muted, Marcos.
Oh yeah, you're good now. You're good now.
Good.
Okay, am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Marco Suarel. I'm out of 7-Up. The actual name for my company is Keurig Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, and we distribute beverages throughout the Inland Empire, and we have different facilities throughout California, and we're proud to say we're all part of the Teamster family. And I've been here for 15 years, and I'm also a shop steward for the company and for the union, actually. And Becky touched on a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about too. That training facility that we got going on that's coming this December. And it's a big privilege to talk about stuff like that, because these are opportunities that a lot of young people didn't have when I was young. And talking about that, it brings out a lot of opportunities for a lot of people that aren't aware of that. And I just want to say that, with that being said, here at 7-Up, the opportunities that I've had and that I've witnessed other people having, like coming out of high school and working in the grocery stores as merchandisers for 7-Up as a Teamster, straight out of high school with better benefits than a lot of people have at other jobs. And that's due to being part of the Teamster family. And these kids would move up later on, becoming drivers, getting training through the company, and lots of opportunities here. And like I said, we're out throughout California and throughout the nation, actually. But proud to say we're all Teamsters in California. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunities in this.
Great.
Thank you. Marcos, or sorry, Kenneth?
Yeah, well, Becky and Marcos pretty much took all my thunder here, I guess. But I'm gonna give it a go. Hello, my name's Kenneth Rodriguez. I'm here to talk to you about my personal experience as a career warehouseman. I'm currently a 27, going on 28-year employee at the Rouse Distribution Center in Riverside. I was hired in 1994 at the age of 20. I had just got out of the military, and my original plan was to use my GI Bill and go to college and, go down that field. But, in life, things don't always happen the way they want, the way you want them to happen. And to make a long story short, I was going to be a daddy, and I needed a job that paid good wages and benefits for my baby to come. And all I had was a high school diploma and a couple of years of service in the military. So my father was a truck driver at Rouse. He pulled a few strings and got me an opportunity for an interview to apply at the warehouse, and I got in. I started at the bottom, worked my way up. The pay was good. The medical benefits were top notch. And through the years, I've met lifelong friends, hundreds of different personalities. We've worked through earthquakes. We've worked through 9/11. We've gone to Texas to help with the floods to Houston when they had the floods down there. And as you all know, we worked through this pandemic. The warehousing never stopped, especially in a grocery warehouse. I'm sure you guys all remember the panic buying. We couldn't get the groceries out fast enough to you guys. I mean, it was nonstop. And it's something now that I kind of hang my hat on, and that I'm proud about being able to say that we never stopped the line of groceries getting to the public, servicing our communities. So that's something that I am personally proud of. With that being said, there are careers in warehousing, but the careers are in union warehouses. Very, very few non-union warehouses can match my total compensation package. That total compensation package was not given to me because the company likes me. It was obtained through collective bargaining. It was because of the Teamsters Union. Unions get us contracts guaranteeing wages, benefits, production standards, safety on the job. Without a contract, the company cannot let you go. Without a contract, a company can let you go for any reason. You are pretty much an at-will employee. They don't even have to give you an explanation. That type of treatment doesn't happen in a union warehouse. Everyone gets paid the same. Everything is seniority based. The more seniority you have, the better your job and days off are going to be. The head honcho himself can get his son employed as a warehouseman, and he will start at the bottom just like I did 27 years ago. And he has to work his way up to the top. There's no shortcuts. You put in the time, you reap the benefits. I have truly been blessed with my career. I've been able to provide for my wife and 4 kids. We own a house, cars, toys. I'll be eligible for full retirement in 3 years. At 50 years old, guys, I'll be able to retire with a full pension. These things are all because of my union. My union makes my employer a responsible employer, an employee that pays good wages, benefits, and retirement. So with all that being said, that baby that I talked about at the beginning, she went on to nursing school. She's now an RN. Yes, we're still paying on the loan, but who would have ever thought that you can do so much with a union warehouse job? I am thankful for it. God bless you guys. Keep striding. Go after it, guys. To touch on what they were talking about with the porch real quick, Kroger is hiring drivers. We are hiring warehousemen. We do not have the bodies, guys. So you could go to Kroger.com and look under the careers and apply right there. We're going to be doing a big job fair here in a couple of weeks. But if this is something you guys want to do, if you're willing to put in the work and the time and the dedication and get involved with your union, you can make it happen and you can make a career out of it. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck, guys.
That was great. Thank you. Do we have some time for questions?
Yeah, I actually
Absolutely.
just received a question via a student. This goes for either Becky, Marcos, or Ken, whichever you guys want to answer it. The question is, did you guys think your career would end up the way it would? Because I'm kind of unsure about my future.
Want me to jump in on that one real quick?
Go ahead.
In my scenario, which is different, I am a third generation Teamster. My father and my grandfather were both Teamsters before me. So I knew the long game as far as putting in your time and working your way up through the ranks. However, I do work where we hire people, youngsters that have no clue, no idea. And that's where myself as a shop steward and some of my other members that are shop stewards, we educate them and get them up to speed and say, hey, just keep coming, keep grinding. You're going to get there. You're going to get there. And now they're 15 years in, 20 years in, and they're like, yeah, man, we got it. So that's my personal experience, but I'm sure it's all over the board. I'm sure with Marcos and Becky, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just to add on that a little bit is that just because you start in a specific part through the union, there's so much growth that you can go. Like Ken was saying, you can go through, become a shop steward. You can move into the union side and become a business agent and represent. You can move different companies. The connections that are there are vast. And so but you have the protections. The union is there to fight for you to have a better way of living, a better life. And so it really is worker focused and what is best for the workers.
Yeah, if you don't mind, can I say something on that too?
Mhm.
I learned, like how Becky was saying earlier, like you had to travel, for instance. I came straight out of high school. I started a family real early in my life, and I had to work oddball jobs to make, ends meet. And I did a lot of construction, and I used to travel to Ventura, Oxnard, San Diego in my own personal vehicle, not being able to afford gas to get there, struggling just to get by. When I landed this job at 7-Up, I made the most money in 1 year than I made in my whole life. And I've been blessed. And ever since then, I've just been going up. And I started off at the bottom, but I hung in there and I kept going. And at the end of the day, now I don't do no physical labor, and I've only have 15 years in. I get the vacation days that I want. There's just so many opportunities. My kids have the blessing of the best benefits, that I could imagine. I could go to the chiropractor if I want to. There's not a lot of jobs that offer these types of benefits. And then to top it off, it's the little amount that we pay for these benefits. It's the blessings from the Teamsters and those contracts that they get us by fighting for us and securing our jobs. But yeah, it's just so many opportunities, and you could just keep going up, and yeah, they're here.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I want to make a little comment too. So I want you all to put a circle, all the students and everybody listening, to November the 9th. Because we're going to have Jobs to Move America. I'm the vice chair of their board, and we will be talking about community benefits agreements, okay, and all of this side of the equation. And the other thing I want to just say to Ken and to Marcus and everything is that these are careers that make normal happen. These are the essential, that make normal happen, that made it possible for all of us to be able to do what we needed to do to be able to make it through. So anyway, hats off. And so this whole side of community advocacy and understanding how it all comes together and what you as a member of the public want to advocate for in terms of not just a job, but a good job, good benefits that come back to you and your community is all part of the total package with infrastructure. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Questions from the classroom?
Becky, could you all, as part of your benefits programs that you have, because you talk, there's so many different in the programs that you have tuition reimbursement programs and all of that too. So you've got like, you can earn as you learn. Okay, you can learn as you earn. And then you've got all of these other programs and benefits that are all part of that total compensation you talked about, which if somebody wants to, you can get it through being, being with the Teamsters. Is that, you go, yeah.
Correct. So we work in partnership with the companies that our members are at to work with them on that advancement within the company. So definitely some of the companies will actually, right now, because there's a demand for Class A drivers, some of the companies are paying for you to go and get your commercial license so that you can come back and work for them. There's different benefits at that. Our training center is at no cost to students, so you can receive that vital training, and then we will help place you in a job that's available that will get you started on your pathway, and then be able to come back to the training center and advance it, learn new skills, learn labor history. We are working with the different colleges, so there's some of the courses have college credit on it as well. It's a very diverse package within all of that.
Okay. Thank you.
And I know we'll get from Becky, you can send us links to different places where, students can access information. I know Ken mentioned Krogers.com, and Marcos, I assume, it sounds like 7-Up is hiring also. So it sounds like we can provide folks with a bunch of links where they can explore possibilities for employment and training, right?
Absolutely. And again, if they come to the training center, we will give them that comprehensive training to enter into any of these workforces with ahead of everybody else. This is going to be training that you're not necessarily going to always receive at the company as well. That's coming from our workers who've been in the industry 30 years that said, these are the things new employees need to know. So what we want to do is just prepare you to just be ready to start in there, to know the foundation that needs to be there. And then we will also through our training center, have the job center websites as well, so that you can be connected with all of the different organizations. So we want to be a one-stop shop where you can see everything right there.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We'll follow up with you too, Becky. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Isaiah or Omar, do you know if there are additional questions?
I think we should be good on questions. I think Omar's Zoom account would have been unmuted if there were any questions. Okay. So I think we're good. I will say though, Marcos, if free 7-Up is one of the benefits, sign me up. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. I love 7-Up way too much. So if free 7-Up's on the line, just let me know. You have my email.
I'll tell you this much: we actually do get free soda, but
Nice.
For the most part, we are provided with very cheap vending machines to get everything that our company provides. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Wow.
From Yoo-Hoo to coffee, from Keurig.
I love you. I love you so much.
It's one of the perks. It's one of the perks.
And then, yeah,
I see a question from the classroom.
There's a question. Yeah.
Question. Yeah.
Hi, for the summer of 2022, do you offer internships?
So depending on what you're looking to do, we do have some partnerships with internships. So because that's a little far out, we're working with the different companies, but we are working directly with companies to be able to connect you to those internships.
Will you give us the links to all of that so we can research?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think we're good with questions for now.
Good. So,
okay. Go ahead, Pat. Do you want to?
No, Kenyon, I was going to, you can
I think,
announce.
Did you want to move into the break then?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we'll give, a 10-minute break. So it's 4:05 there, is that right?
Yeah. So we'll pick up at, we'll pick up at 4:15, right? So we'll start back and you'll have more great information. So thanks so much to the Teamster folks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So we're going to move on to IAM jobs in the transportation in transportation logistics and moving goods in the Inland Empire. That's from the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. We're going to start off with Ira, who's going to talk about Ira Stern, who's going to talk about good union jobs represented by IAM, apprenticeships, and the CREST program. And then Sal is going to talk about his own career path, starting with Job Corps, then on the freight railroading, Amtrak, and now TCU IAM Executive Director for Organizing. So we'll start off with Ira.
Yes, hi everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Ira Stern. I'm with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. We are a union that represents, like the Teamsters, we're a union, but we represent more technical workers and a lot of maintenance workers and different technicians in various fields. So we we were formed a long time ago also in 1888, which makes us about 130 plus years old. 130 plus years old. And then we have about 600,000 active and retired members throughout the United States. I'm speaking to you from New Jersey. I heard it said before that New Jersey was like one of the largest cities in terms of warehousing and distribution. And yes, we are pretty large out here also. We do have affiliates in California. We'll talk about that very quickly in a little while. But, so we are, again, a big union with members across the country. And we represent, I'm from our safety and training division. And we also have to do with apprenticeships. And that's why in my presentation here, this word apprenticeship is highlighted in red, because I deal with some of our specific apprenticeships. But we have represent people in rail, airline, and airport, marine, as well as industrial machinists, and also in auto and truck repair. While the Teamsters may drive the trucks, we do a lot of the repairs and we represent the technicians that work on some of the trucks for various companies, such as big truck leasing companies like Penske, that is a nationwide company, and UPS, United Parcel Service. Many people know we represent a lot of the technicians. So we represent also automotive technicians. And as I said, I run an apprenticeship program here in the East, here in New Jersey. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what's involved. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so very quickly, what is a diesel technician? The point I want to get across here, it's very complex. It's very complicated and complex. It's changed from what it used to be. Like automobiles used to be, turning a wrench was what it was about. Today, it's more about electronics. There's microprocessors in every truck as well as car that regulate fuel timing, increasing engine efficiency. And in modern shops, diesel service technicians use handheld or laptop computers to diagnose problems and adjust engine functions. There's scan tools that are out there that cost 10,000 plus each. So we know how to work those things, and we know what to do to try to make sure that the trucks are running on the roads efficiently and safely. They don't take, when somebody fixes a truck, they don't cut corners, because a truck barreling down the highway needs to be safe and needs to be run efficiently. Truck drivers often run trucks for 1 million miles or more, as opposed to cars, which are getting better. They're like 200,000 and more today, some of the cars out there. But again, it's not unusual to run a truck at approximately 1 million miles today. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about diesel techs and trucking. Why should you become a diesel tech? What's good about becoming a diesel tech? And I'm going to talk about apprenticeships, but just on the generally about diesel techs and trucking. Well, trucking, as we heard, relating to the ports. There's busy ports here in New Jersey. There's busy ports out there. The Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach, I believe, are the two busiest ports in the country. And they're right next to each other, and they're right next to you. and there's billions of tons of freight that are run through there. Most of it, 70% plus, goes over, by truck. The other, we mentioned the other percentage of it, a large percentage of, the rest of it goes by rail mostly. But again, more than 70% goes by truck. And, we had a speaker earlier about the Port of Los Angeles. It's, again, one of the largest and busiest ports in the country. It's just amazing how much goods have run through there. And the numbers I have are from 2019, and I'm sure they'll match that, if not more, today in 2021, as we are emerging from this pandemic and people are, again, buying and, out there, conducting all sorts of economic activity. Next slide, please. Okay. All right, again, some of the prior speakers stole a lot of my thunder. Keep going until we fill up the screen. But what's the difference between union and non-union? We heard from the Teamsters. It's the same is true for in our field. Union employees earn more in our field, which is the service field, where we fix the vehicles, automotive and diesel trucks. On average, we make $200 on average more per week than non-union workers. And this is not my statistic, but comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So according to the federal government, we make more. And that's why you would want to work union. It's plain and simple. Vacation, union employees get more vacation. Holiday, union employees get more time off, more holidays. Job security, it's better for union employees. By job security, somebody had talked about it before. They said that you were an at-will employee if you worked for a non-union employer, meaning he could get rid of you for almost no reason. And I often stand and talk to young people in New Jersey here and in New York, and I say, what is an at-will employee? You're there at whose will? And very often the young person will say, oh, I walked in, I got the job. Yeah, but you're there because the employer said you could work there. And so, again, without a union, you don't have any job security. You're at the employer's whim or will. So the other thing is healthcare. Healthcare coverage is very expensive. Union employees get better coverage for less cost to the employee. A good healthcare plan costs a minimum of $1,000 a month today. That's just for your healthcare. That doesn't include any of your wages. So healthcare coverage is very expensive, and we have better healthcare than non-union workers because we're there to bargain for them. That's what a union does. Make sure you have the best possible benefits and pay that as possible. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, I think there's pension. All right, yeah. Pension is paid for by the employer. So very often in our shops, we have, at our employees, we have two types of pension. One you could put into as a savings, as well as the pension that the employer pays for. So you have it both ways. It's a good, you have more to retire on, and you could do it in less time than, we heard some of the Teamsters talking, and they could retire after 30 years or so. And it's the same with the machinist union. We got good pensions. Thank you. Next. Okay, I wanted to talk very quickly about how our program works. We started off as an apprentice salary at $15 an hour, or give or take. It's probably, some places it's 16, some it's more. I know that's not a really great starting wage, but it goes up pretty quickly. In 3 to 4 years, you're at close to $35 to $40 an hour, $30 to $40 an hour. And that just doesn't happen, when you're in a non-union shop. We do go up, and we go up fairly quickly as you learn. The thing about an apprenticeship program is you're learning while you're earning. So you got 40 hours of paid on-the-job training per week. In other words, you're at a regular job learning the job. And this is the training wage that you're getting for the $15 plus per hour. The classroom training then is at least 144 hours per year at no cost to the participant and at no cost to you. You contrast that to some of the private schools out there. There's lots of schools that teach automotive or diesel truck repair, and they basically a year-long program. They cost somewhere around $40,000, $37,000, $40,000 and up to learn it. And I don't know how many times I've gone into a shop and there's our apprentice standing there next to somebody who went to one of those private schools who paid $40,000, and they are in the same place at the same time, making the same money. And our apprentice did not pay the $40,000, while the young person that went to the school, it paid the $40,000. So again, it's clearly a better place to be. Apprenticeship is the way to go. Apprenticeship, if you could find one, whether it be with us or with with Seafarers or whatever, you could do much better in an apprenticeship than taking the private institute or private school route. Okay, next job, please. Next slide. So this is just the way some of our program works. The diesel apprenticeship. Who would your employer be? As I mentioned, we represent workers that fix the trucks at Penske. There's a company called Truck King near us, and also in the New York area, we represent mechanics that are work on UPS trucks and others. The program length is 3 to 4 years. In one state, it's 3 years. In another state, it's 4 years. It depends where you are, but it's 3 to 4 years, and the total weekly hours is 40 hours of work. This is full-time. I've had young people come to me and say, can I do this part-time? No, this is a full-time gig. In other words, you're going to get benefits, you're going to work full-time, and then you're also going to go to school in the evening. In our New York apprenticeship program, the young people go to our classes at our Bronx Community College, but they do not pay anything. Again, they're getting a college class and they're not paying anything. It's no cost to the apprentice. It's totally free. I can't emphasize that enough. The starting wage there is again, $15 at least an hour or something. For some employees, it's a little bit more, with increments to $31 plus in 3 years. And then you could go up from there to about $40 an hour, plus overtime. Next slide. So, this is what it's about. I guess I, didn't take my full amount of time, but I wanted to, understand what apprenticeships are, what working for a union means. And we do have a union apprenticeship program out in California. It's in the Bay Area, San Francisco area, and that's the website for it. It's iamdistrict190.org/apprenticeship. I believe they do automotive repair as well as maybe some truck repair, but you could look into it. It's closer than I am to you. I would love for people to look into what I'm doing and how we do it, but if this is a little bit closer. But again, this is further up. It's in the San Francisco area. If anybody wants to get in contact with me, I guess they'll give out my contact information. It's istern@iamaw.org, as well as my telephone number. I could give that out. It's our program number, and I'd be happy and willing to answer any questions that you might have about union apprenticeships or about our particular apprenticeships at the Machinist Union.
Great, thank you, Ira.
Thank you.
And we'll I think do questions after Sal, is that right? Okay, so we're fortunate to have our last speaker in your classroom, Sal Rodriguez. I'll let you take it from here.
Well, thank you. And thank you everybody for allowing me to be here with you. The good thing about being last is that I don't have to cover what the union will do for you. I can cover what I've been through as a union rep and as a former TCU graduate from the Job Corps. Those of you that are here already got a little flyer, and it was a story that was made way back in the day, and it's called the Sal Rodriguez Story. Just to give you a little history, I am a product of the Job Corps. My dad was a railroader, and he gave me two choices when I graduated high school. Either you get a job or you go to school. Well, I wasn't ready to work, so I went to school, and I'm thankful that I found the Job Corps. I graduated the Job Corps in 1980. So that'll tell you I've had 41 years of continuous service to the railroad. I say that proudly because as the other brothers and sisters have talked about, it's given me a lot. I have two girls that I put through school. I have, made a career out of this. And just to give you a little background, when I first graduated from the Job Corps trainer session that was in Los Angeles, My first job was with the Union Pacific Railroad. 1980, I was 18 years old, making tons of money. Unfortunately, they moved my job from the East Los Angeles area to Omaha, Nebraska. And I was 18 years old. I didn't want to move to Omaha, Nebraska. So I reached back to the Job Corps and they helped me get my second and current career with Amtrak. So I've been with Amtrak since 1984. And just to give you a little history with Amtrak, if you think of Amtrak, you probably think of passenger trains going from point A to point B. But there's so much else in between. I can tell you some of the jobs I've held were ticket clerk. We've had red cap. We've had baggage clerks. We have had commissary workers. We've had baggage handlers. And some questions that were asked earlier, we actually have a section of TCU, which is the onboard service employees. Those are your train attendants, your chefs, food specialists. So when you work for the railroad, you work for a family of jobs, not just pigeonholed to one. And I can tell you because I represent, I used to represent the membership coast to coast when I was a national representative for TCU. I recently got promoted to executive director of our organizing department. And I say that because if you think of a kid who just graduated high school and now I'm in charge of an organizing department, something that I will learn. Unfortunately, so late in my career, I just turned 60 years old, and it's a great feeling that I can say that I'm ready to let somebody else take those around because I've done what I had to, and the career path that I chose. Somebody asked, how'd you know what career path you were going to get? I didn't. I'll be honest with you. When I first went to the railroad, I said, well, this is fun. I'll do this for a minute. And before you know it, you start growing in the company and you start finding different jobs and you find your little hook where you're comfortable in. I chose to go the route of the union. I started out as a local chairman. I held the union position and was successfully elected and reelected for over 20 years. And, it's not an easy feat because you have people that are always going to say the grass is greener on the other side, right? I can do better for you. Don't worry about that. But the reality is that if you set your mind to something and you have a goal, you can achieve it. I mean, I'm living proof of that. My two girls, one of them went to college and is now a producer. She does the latest one she's doing right now is Storage Wars. Who would have thought, huh? And my other daughter, believe it or not, I got her a job with the railroad. And this is how crazy this world is. So she gets a job with the railroad and, through the course of her training, she was late. So they would call me as a union rep, say, Sal, your daughter's late again. What do you want me to do? Well, treat her no different than any of the employees. So they gave her one break. Second time she was late, guess what? They called me up again. Hey, I'm sorry to tell you, but your daughter's late again. What do you want me to do? What would you do with any other employee? We cut her loose. That was the hardest call I ever got. My daughter crying. I was like, oh. I said, I can't do anything for you. But you're the union. I said, yeah, I'm there to protect your job. I'm not there to protect you being late. And that's something you put on yourself. And you talk about hard. That was a hard pill to swallow, but it was good for her. She learned a little bit more about herself and about being, somebody that you have to represent yourself. But I can tell you with the Job Corps program, I actually was asked to go back and be a trainer. So even with the Job Corps, because I would go back and I would really want to give back to the community. I mean, it was a great feeling to go over there and be with students and you can see yourself in that student. I saw myself coming up and not being sure and, thinking, can I do this? I can't do this. How am I going to put all this, time and effort into something? Is it going to pay off in the long run? But I can tell you it really has, and it really has been a blessing. I can tell you for sure that I do plan on retiring either next year or the following year. And I don't mind saying it. I've already checked into my retirement. And just to tell you, I'm going to get close to $5,000 retired a month. I mean, that to me is unbelievable. If I can't live off of $5,000 a month, I'm doing something wrong there. But it wasn't given to me, and that's the thing. It was negotiated by your union, your hard wages that you get, everything that you get as a union person. It's called the collective bargaining agreement. Like my brothers and sisters have said, being part of a union is being part of a family. And I can only tell you that if you're interested in an Amtrak career, it's out there. You go into amtrak.com under career opportunities. And right now we're hiring for onboard service employees. We're hiring for ticket clerks. We're hiring for call center employees. Unfortunately, we used to have a call center out here in Riverside, California. We used to have almost 1,100 employees at one time. And the company, which they have a right to do, decided to close that call center and move it to the East Coast. So right now, our call center is hiring because they can't handle the demand. I don't know why they cut the call center here. It was a perfect spot. You know, California, you can have it 24/7, 7 days a week. In the East Coast, you get those storms. You get, you know, the time where people can't go to work. You know, there's 3 feet of snow, 5 feet of snow, whatever it is. I'm not used to it. I'm a Cali boy, born and raised out here, and I can tell you that we do plan on opening a second call center. Hopefully, it comes back to California. I'm not too sure on that, but Amtrak is there. Amtrak is a good company, and again, there's a lot of opportunities. And with the railroad, you're not just one job. Pretty much that's my story. That's the Rodriguez story, if you may. I'm open to any questions that you may have. And again, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here and talking a little bit about my history. And hopefully I can help some of you guys out at some point. Question?
What is the cost of becoming a train engineer?
Okay.
I've never heard of it.
It's a good question because we have, as everybody else does, an apprenticeship program. There's certain steps you have to do. You know, you start out as a conductor or assistant conductor, and then you move into an engineer. And you can do that through Amtrak. You know, you hire on, and it's a paid training program, just like they were talking about. They send you back east for our conductors and engineers. But it's a great job. My neighbor's a conductor, and he makes over $100,000 a year, and he loves his job. But it's actually on the train, taking it from point A to point B. You can only work so many hours. After those hours, they automatically have to take you off that train. My brother from the IAM, because we also are under the IAM umbrella, we're TCU IAM. They also have, because you were talking about engineers, and I think you were talking more of some kind of a mechanical engineer. I think you might ask him a question. Ira, are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am. I'm here. Yes.
Well, we have a young lady that was asking questions about engineering, and I automatically thought train engineer, but she was more interested in the mechanical section of the engineer. Do we have a program here close by for that?
We may, although I'm not familiar with it in my daily working. So we could find out, but I don't know offhand. Sorry.
This is one of the areas that we'll work with Ira and Sal and others and follow up on. And, you know, again, these are the resources and links that we'll send to you.
Great. Yes.
All of these apprenticeships, are they for like young single students? What if I have babies? Is there any kind of family housing or?
You mean family assistance?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I can tell you with Amtrak, there is not.
Okay.
You know, with Amtrak, once you hire out, you're expected to be at work and be at work on time. But you know, I don't know if they have other programs with another outfit.
For the apprenticeship, you said that you take them to, you said East Coast?
Right.
So like, is it like a dorm situation, or do I have to rent my own place? And can I bring like my kids if I take care of my own daycare?
Yeah, no, not with the Amtrak training. What they do is they'll send you to Wilmington, Delaware. That's for our conductors, engineers, and our food specialists and chefs. But it's something that if you are able to do it, it pays off. I understand that, we have families and sometimes we have to make a commitment outside of that family, which makes it difficult. But with Amtrak, they don't have that, where you can take a family member or assistance in that manner. Some of the other, people on the panel, they may have something that can meet that.
We can check on the Teamster Training Center and see if they provide those services also.
I think I have another question down here.
As far as the training engineer, is that something you just apply for, or do you have to have certain prereqs, or do they want?
No, that's the beauty of it. You just apply for it. I mean, of course, when you hire out, they're going to ask you if you have any expertise or any prior training, but you don't have to have it. Usually with Amtrak, I can tell you that they expect you to start out as an assistant conductor. And then they move you into the conductor. And then from the conductor, you move into the engineer. But there are other companies, Union Pacific or Santa Fe Railroad, that may have just that engineer class. And they also do the apprenticeship. Like I said, my neighbor, he went through that and he's loving life.
What does the process look like? Like, is it like a 3-year kind of thing, or is it longer to move up?
With what?
From the conductor to the engineer?
Yeah, the conductors, I'm not a conductor, but I believe they have a lock-in period. You have to work an assistant conductor for X amount of time. I want to say 6 months to a year. And then after that, you can apply for an assistant conductor, and it's the same step. But you're working the entire time. You're not like, once you start one craft, you stop. No, it's the entire career path that they know you're taking. Like I said, we just had a call center where they closed, and a lot of my employees went from the call center, being a clerk, taking calls, to being a conductor, and now some of them are actually in the engineering school. So I can tell you, it does happen. And this is we've been close for 3 years now. So it takes 3 years approximately to become that engineer. And some of my other colleagues, I don't know if you guys have stuff like that going on or not, but
This is good to know other career options.
absolutely. I smile because I can only think, when we're coming up and all of us did it. We see the world just this huge place, and then you have to find your own niche. And it sounds like your career goal already. You already have something in mind, but a lot of us didn't. And even yourself, if you're looking at the engineer, absolutely, I would look at Amtrak. And again, right now, because of what happened when COVID happened, is that a lot of the old heads, the old timers, retired. So now they got to replenish those bodies, and they're looking to get conductors, they're looking to get assistant conductors and engineers. Not to mention your regular, if you want to be a call center employee, if you want to be a baggage person, if you want to be a red cab, if you want to be a ticket clerk, and we have openings coast to coast. So
I also, even if I graduate as an engineer, I don't know anybody who's an engineer. So I really appreciate your apprenticeship programs because it feels like it's a way in.
Oh, absolutely. It's you getting the foot in the door, as they say. And with a lot of these companies that we're talking about here, it's the union job protection. They can't just, as they say, at will employ or fire you just cause I didn't like the color of your hair today. I mean, that's just the way it is in the industries that are non-union. So I can only tell you, coming from the bottom of my heart, I love my job. I love the union and everything it stands for. That's just me.
And I want to say a little something here. When I started out as a kid, I first started out, it's this whole thing of finding, I started out, I went to college. My dad had a massive heart attack. My whole life changed. My mother had never worked and all of that. And I had a job, and it was with a Westinghouse facility. It was a union position. It was an engineering change order specialist. And back in those days, what that meant, people always laugh about my handwriting. They say, Bev, your handwriting is so good. I said, well, that's because on these prints, I wrote all the EC 999. We tore the prints up and all that. But I was so happy to have that position because, like I said, my world changed. My dad got a massive heart attack at 45 years old. It was like everything went. And so I was able to do that for 2 years. And I went back I went to school at night. Well, anyway, the bottom line is I got my doctorate and everything, but I did things. It was unbelievable. Okay. And so in your life, you want to always be able to have options, learning. And if it had not been for that period when I really needed that, okay, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm just saying this whole thing of tools in your toolkit. Okay. I'm saying it really works.
Do we have
Could
any
I
more
just
questions?
go, hey, Kenyon?
Yep,
I'm sorry,
go ahead, Pat.
I just wanted to go briefly back because I noticed we missed a question by Fayepps around the port of LA. And I just, Abine had to leave to take a call, but he just emailed me an answer. Her question was she had heard that the ports, things had stopped at the ports because of COVID. And I just want to briefly read his answer. He said, there's a lot of cargo. He said, there's a lot of cargo at the port today because Americans have been buying so much over the last 12 months. Online shopping and staying at home and then deciding to remodel your home have just increased the amount Americans are purchasing. Now it's like trying to move 10 lanes worth of traffic into a 4-lane highway. At least at the port, I've personally spent a good chunk of the first half of the year making sure we had vaccines available to all our port workers so we can help keep them safe because the port never closed. So that's just information about the port and also tells you the importance of goods and moving goods and what COVID has done to the whole area of logistics, warehousing, trucking.
Okay. Anything to close then with Pat?
I'll just say thank you.
I'll let Bev close.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say thank you to everybody. It's been eye-opening, and just really cannot thank you enough for providing the information and food for thought. Because, like I said, I didn't know about these careers. Okay, and I'm saying, and that's what happens. We find with so many young people, or what they think they know, is just sometimes incorrect, and just a pinch of what's really out there. So thank you very, very much. Becky and others we will definitely be in contact with you. Okay. And I think I see that Professor Castro got pizza in the room. Okay.
One of the things you can't do on Zoom. I actually have a quick question for Becky because it came up, and Becky, in the Teamster training facility or any of the training programs, is there provision for childcare with particularly single parents or folks who have child care issues? Do you know of any of that?
None that I know of at this point, but that is a really valid point. I actually wrote that down. That's something that I will definitely take back and look into because it is a real reality. We try to schedule our classes to accommodate work schedules and other things, but childcare needs to be factored into that. So,
yeah.
Thanks. Great.
And Sal, thank you so much for coming on site. It makes a big difference. And once again, for all the participants, we're just so appreciative. All right. And for all you East Coasters where it's 3 hours later, God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we will definitely follow up. Jinga, the entire team, thank you so much. Pat, always. Okay. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you so
Time
much,
to make
everyone.
dinner.
See you next week.
Bye,
See
everyone.
ya.